Hi, I'm Robert Shelide, Chief of Police for Shelby Township, and welcome to Straight Talk. With us today is Lieutenant Brandon Dowty. Lieutenant Dowty, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
I want to discuss with you our FTO program. It's come a long way since I took over back 8.5 years ago. I know we got a lot of, I don't want to say complaints, but criticisms from an officer who joined our department who came from a department of very strict FTO program and thought we needed to really change the way we did business. And I know for a fact that we had some officers slip through the cracks that probably shouldn't have made it. And you were put in charge of the program back a few years ago and have changed basically the way we do business totally. So when did you take over the program exactly, if you remember? And why don't you talk to the audience about some of the measures that you put in place?
I want to say it was about 2 years ago I took over the program, and I think a lot of the discrepancies were revolving around just a lack of understanding of how the program revolves. Like the changes that were made were not as significant as it's probably perceived, but the transparency, the way we've educated not only our new officers but educated our commanders and how the program is designed, I think has improved significantly. Okay. Especially with the amount of new officers that we had go through the program in the last 2 years. It's right in our face. It's a program that we've all become well versed in. So
you've put 30 people through the program, like in the last 2.5 years. That's a tremendous challenge on you, on your trainers.
Yes, we currently have 13 officers that are still on probation. We have a couple that are going to be graduating from their probationary year in the beginning of June, and the oversight that is required it's truly a team effort, and it the way it's evolved, it's the staffing, the understanding from the officers, the way we have to schedule. It's a nightmare. But from a logistic standpoint, I think it's going as smooth as we could possibly make it, and I'm really happy for the team approach and the understanding that our field training officers have done.
What I'm happy about is looking at the end result. Yeah. You know, the officers themselves, and you can tell the ones that should be here and the ones that are kind of like this, and we don't have many like this, if that makes any sense. I think the guys and women are very hard workers. They're out there, and I'm beyond impressed with most of them, and I think your team does a tremendous job. Now, you use software to track this stuff too, and I think you put the software in yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a door field training software that we designed, and it just helps ensure that we're doing all the administrative work. We're checking the boxes, and we're making sure that we're having a continuity of training across each recruit. And I think it's streamlined the communication and make sure that we're all on the same page, and we can visibly see how people are performing, and we can easily display it to administration. Like if we have a problem, it can get more people involved to address the issue, so that we have recruit officers, when they go into their solo patrol, they're less prone to be struggling.
Okay. I remember when I was brand new, lieutenant and sergeant walked in the office. When we see you, they closed the door. I was literally brand new there, a couple months maybe. And they ran the FTO program, and they said, we need to fire so-and-so as a recruit officer. And I said, okay. I said, who is it? And they told me, and I kind of like taken back a step because I know I had met the young man's parents, and I knew that he came from a really good family and just a good kid. And I just figured he was green. And I said, well, what's the issue? And I was waiting to hear some big dramatic story. And that was their answer. He's too green. And I was like, oh, no. Go back to the drawing board and do what you can to train him. He's a good kid. He's intelligent, and do what you have to do. And I think they were taken back by my order, and do what you have to do. Well, here we are 7-8 years later, and the young man is a rising star in the department. I don't want to mention his name, but he's all over the place. And what I know is that the people he works with respect him, and that should tell you everything. Now, recently, this year, we had a training issue with a young man. And you came to me, and and I also met this young man's family, and I felt the same way about him as I did the last one. As I gave you the direction, do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And you guys spent countless hours on this young man, and he's currently thriving out on his own. And I want to give you kudos for that, because it's easy to get rid of him. I can tell you that right now. It's been much easier and cheaper to get rid of these people than to sit and work on them. But in the long run, the value is tremendous. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, when we find that these people have the ability, but they need more time, we certainly have developed the culture that we're going to invest as our many resources that we can to make sure that this person's successful. We're not going to push them through the program. If we have identified in the past that people have deficiencies that we can't fix, and we've had those difficult conversations where we have to let people go. It's not an easy program where we can just invest more time into people. But when we see that there's a reason for it and they're performing well based on our additional training, then of course we're going to invest in that person and make sure that they are an asset to this department.
Now you get, I meet these people when we're going to hire them, I interview them, and then I go to the graduation and swearing in, and pretty much don't see them after that. I read about them and everything, but I don't see them. So I don't really get to know them. You're much closer to the ground and get to know these people. And I want you to be brutally honest here, and I'll put you on the spot, okay? Mm-hmm. What do you think about the quality of candidates that we're hiring and giving to you for your program?
I think that we're getting great quality candidates from the academy right now. It's definitely a fantastic foundation that starts us off in the right path. But the transition from civilian mindset to law enforcement mindset is very, very challenging, and that's kind of where we have those hardships going in. That's consistent since I was a field training officer when I was back in the patrol division. We're still seeing that common theme today, where it takes a little bit longer just because they have less life experience, or depending on where they grew up, they haven't dealt with someone that's confrontational. Now we have to train them to get to that point, and they have to have that exposure and confidence to be able to be a successful officer. And the academy does a great job developing all the necessary requirements to become a licensed officer in the state. And there's so much more curriculum that's being pushed down these officers' throats in comparison to how it was when I was in the police academy. And I really think that the balance of what they deal with at the academy and what we have to teach them, we're starting to really fine tune how we can more efficiently train these officers. And that just comes with time and experience and what we're learning. We're learning from dealing with the new generation and how they perceive this world. And we have to be adaptable as instructors to make sure that whatever training objective we have is clicking in their mind. And that takes a lot of adaptability. And I want to say our field training officers are doing an exceptional job at that.
Well, I appreciate you opening yourself up for the next question, okay, about the field training officers specifically. In my view, and I've said this 1,000 times to our audience, I'm a 36-and-a-half-year veteran right now in law enforcement, and what I see is the biggest challenge to you is our young FTOs, our trainers. You have literally had to fill the coffers with these young kids, sometimes with 2 years in a job and 3 years in a job. That's unheard of in our profession. It just doesn't go on. We don't let young kids train other kids that are green. So talk about the challenges. First, let's start with why that you had to do that, and then the challenges facing it. So let me tell you another challenge I want you to discuss after you answer that question is we're bringing in a few veteran officers with tons of experience, and in some cases, way more experience than their trainer. Mm-hmm. So obviously this is a unique situation that you have to manage as being the big boss. Go ahead.
There's certainly concern when you have a younger officer become a field training officer, but we're not just handpicking some random person and be like, hey, you're going to be a field training officer. We ensure that these people are meeting the standard for our department. Yeah, they may not have as much road experience as what our past field training officers have had, but they have the right mindset to address these officers. They can actually be more relatable to these young officers coming straight from the academy because of the age gap. And they're extremely knowledgeable, they're resourceful, and they have the attitude of problem solving. They're exceptional problem solvers, and we encounter different problems. I talked about the common theme of sometimes we have different life experience, and it's a difficult transition from law enforcement or from civilian to law enforcement. They'll encounter issues where they have an orientation issue or officer safety issues or just general field performance, and they have this special skill set of problem solving to identify what these problems are with their recruit officer, but also to fix it and figure out what works, what's clicking to make this person an asset to the department.
Okay, well said. And I know it's challenging for you, and good luck. I know you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
So Stacy has some great B-roll of some of our FTO program in action, and we'd like to show that to you now.
My name's Officer Bohm. I've been with the Shelby Township Police Department now for 7.5 years. While on patrol here, I work as an evidence tech, part of our True Team Tactical Response Unit, and as an FTO, which is a field training officer. Been a field training officer now for 4 years, and it's a really rewarding program where our rookies or lateral hires come in and we train them how to do the job to our standards. We grade them on 27 different categories, and it's our job to make sure that they're out here being safe and good servants to the public. Every department has a field training program, but ours is specific to us. There might be some nuances of working in Shelby Township that could be different in other jurisdictions, but across the board the program is the same. So there's certain categories and a performance level that you need to meet, and we have to evaluate them to get them to the final acceptable standard. But there are some, special things in Shelby, like dealing with people from our community, dealing with knowing the specific geography of this area so that you can get to and from different calls quickly. Response time and orientation are both really important. Officer safety is one of the most important categories. I got to make sure that our new officers are out here doing the job safely. I need to make sure they have a full understanding of the law, local ordinances, so that we don't make any mistakes out here. So the program is broken up into 4 phases. You have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then the last phase is called shadow. Each phase, the first 3 phases are 14 days, so it takes about a month each. And then the final phase is 7 days, taking 2 weeks. That final phase in shadow is like kind of the graduation phase, where we, as a FTO cadre, basically say, we think this person's ready for their final exam. The training officer in shadow dresses down into civilian clothes so that the training officer takes on full responsibility. They're responsible for 100% of the response, the work. The training officer doesn't help them at all. He is solely responsible for their safety. And also we find that having the training officer dress down helps the attention from the public remain solely on the training officer, because sometimes they'll see an older officer as a training officer, and the public will want to talk to them. It's just a natural gravitation. So this helps kind of facilitate that the recruit will be doing all the work. Each phase has a couple different objectives. As we're going through the phases, there are certain things that, like when in your free time, there's training points that we have to hit and make sure that our recruit understands to graduate to the next phase. And they have to kind of have a passing score or a basically show improvement that will get to the final passing score by the time they finish our program. Like every sort of education, the school books can only get you so far. Getting out here and seeing it, feeling it, seeing the emotion, making judgment calls, I think that just changes the game, from just reading things or watching videos to putting yourself in it. It's a whole new stress level, and seeing how our recruits operate in a high stress situation is also something that is really important throughout the program.
Hello.
Hi, I just pulled over.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I just figured I'd give you guys a little extra buffer space here.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. How are you?
No, that was good.
Are we?
What you did, by the way.
Yeah. We'll make sure you guys got more space. Are we taking this one off or putting it on, or is
Trying
that?
to get it back on. It came off.
It came off?
Yeah. 2 studs broke.
I love working here. top down, great place to work. Everybody's really friendly. The shifts are all really close. You know, I've had the opportunity to work on a couple different shifts now, and just bonding with the other officers, the command staff, having a good open door policy. It's definitely a good work environment.
Yeah, I can give you a ride. I can give you a ride up there if you think we can maybe, if it's off the jack, do you think we can get it a little further off the road?
I can try and see if I can pull it over a little more.
I'd be all right with
I pulled it over
that.
this much so I can.
No, this is pretty good.
I mean, to get my leg, to get under and take it off. And then
Yeah.
Then my leg fell off, scooting around and don't come
Oh,
out. I'm waiting
jeez.
for my new one.
So I always train my guys and recruits that you have to treat everybody with respect, kind of like the golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated. But we always treat people with respect and be courteous and try to help them until such a time comes up where we have to throw some of those courtesies aside and handle business. But most people will respond really well to us, treating them respectfully, and that's really all they want when we're dealing with them. And I've found that works really well. But you know, basically I tell them always be ready for things to go poorly, but always treat people like they're gonna go well. Yeah, this is just a fire department call. It told us to respond regular time, so fire department's there. There's nothing we can really do except block traffic, so. Oh man, look at that little mask. That's something. So yeah, we just block traffic, make sure nobody bugs the fire department while they do their thing, and try to get the fire out and make sure it's all safe. And anything they need, we try to accommodate. So they had a basement fire of some sort, and they got everybody there, they got everybody out of the house, made sure everything was safe, blocked the area off, and then when they felt comfortable, they released the scene and cleaned up, and we just kind of block traffic and make sure nobody interferes with what they were doing. Hello, a little late through that red light.
Oh, I thought it was yellow, like I couldn't see it, and then
Well, I think you probably couldn't see it because you're too close to that semi-truck, but I had a green light and I was coming out of the park, and then you came by while I had a green, so you definitely had a red.
like I couldn't stop, and then like I have.
Right, so what I'm saying is you should leave more distance between you and a truck so that you know what color that light was, because technically cross traffic all had green lights and we all had to wait for you to go by.
I agree.
Okay? You got your driver's license on you?
Okay, vehicle 115, sir.
And my wife is sick, and I'm trying to take her to the hospital.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. All right, just hang out for a sec. And they ran the red light over there. Make sure everything's good with this guy and see what comes back.
X-ray 160 for dispatch. No, just area track only.
Okay, here's your license back. Just a warning today. Just make sure you leave a little more room between you and the truck so you can see the light, because it was bad. All right?
Sorry about that.
All right, take care. Yep. Thanks, man. So we just left him a little warning. He's got a good driving record. He was pretty cool, so just told him to not follow semi-trucks so he could see what color the lights were.
Welcome back, and you've just seen Officer Andrew Boehm. Andrew is a 7-year veteran of our department. He does an incredible job. He's on our tactical unit. Now he's a field training officer, and Andrew's future is very bright here. He's an outstanding young man. Lieutenant Dowty, back to you. I asked you a question before our segment, and you didn't get a chance to answer. I apologize for cutting you off. My question for you, and this is my favorite question, how do you manage these young FTOs with 2-3 years in a job, and they have to train guys from other departments with 15 years, 17 years on a job, 6 years on a job? It's got to be challenging for them. You and the officer from the other department coming in, and like, they got to be thinking, I got more experience in this too. How are you dealing with it?
I think the biggest thing is open lines of communication. And I think the field training officer understands that we're going to support them if they have any issues. We want to make sure that we have the environment where they can transition from their past department to our department. And they may know how to do the job, they have some field experience, but they don't know our standard operating procedures. And that's where our 2.5-year employee is way ahead of the game in comparison. So making sure that they both are professional and have a professional relationship where they understand that they both can learn from each other, I think is very productive. And if there was ever a dispute, the field training officer knows that they have our support, and we're going to make sure that we make accommodation to make sure that this is a successful recruit that comes to the department.
Well said, and good luck with that.
Thank you.
And I speak from experience because I had that when I went from Detroit to Southfield and worked with trainers, and I would say that 3 out of the 4 were outstanding. It made me feel, just helped me get acclimated. And then one of them was a little power mad, so you got to watch for that.
Yes.
So good luck.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk to you or mention we lost one of the great ones this past week, Chief Donald Campbell. He served our department greatly from 1968 to 1995. He was chief for his last 8 years between 1987 and 1995. And he had a tremendous reputation and following from the men and women that worked with him. Now, you personally got to see him speak 2 summers ago. If you recall directly, he sat on his bench and talked. We had about 60 people gathered around. And in my eyes, it was magic. What do you remember about that day and about meeting him that day? And what were your thoughts looking at all the retirees and everything?
Don Campbell retired before I became an officer in this department. But a lot of people that were at that ceremony were some of my past retired, now my past commanders, and you just could hear a pin drop when he talked. He was clearly so well respected by his men, and even when he was talking in that event, just giving his speech, it was the command presence that he had was inspiring, and it really showed how much of an lasting impression that he had on this organization and his officers.
Yeah, I'm glad that young officers and officers like you and the commanders that are present modern day was able to see that. Deputy Chief Schmittler came and told me, because he got hired by Chief Campbell, he said that a lot of these guys have come back. They've never come back once since they've been retired, 15, 20, 25 years. And the reason they came back was for Chief Campbell. So he's a great man. He will be missed. He will always be remembered at the police department. We've set up a memento for him. We have a bench in our Hall of Heroes. It's got fresh flowers on it. His name is engraved, years of service, and we will never forget Chief Campbell.
I think even one of his officers drove all the way from, was it Kentucky, for that ceremony?
Yeah.
They drove all the way, multiple states, just to pay his respect to him.
That should tell you
that
everything.
Says everything.
Yeah, I agree with you. I want to ask you what your thoughts are. We're going to be putting in a firearm canine dog. Our police dogs we have now, they're specifically for drug use, or not drug use, but drug sniffing, and then apprehension and tracking. So we're going away from that model completely. And what do you know about it, and what are your thoughts?
I think it's an excellent asset that definitely diversifies our agency even more than we already are. And we certainly have had more firearms that were taken off. Statistically speaking, we're seeing a rise because we have these young officers that are eager, and they're getting in cars and they're digging, they're doing good police work, and we're finding more firearms. Having that extra asset on the road and available to the community will only make this community that much more safe.
I agree. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
Now, you wear many hats at our police department, probably too many, and I say that for your own well-being, if that makes any sense. You're cursed with the competency curse, and a lot of people around the department go to you for a lot of things, and you do a tremendous job juggling.
Thank you.
But one of the things you are in charge of is our tactical unit. It's a big deal. You're commander of our tactical unit. You took the team to, was it Grayling a few weeks ago?
Yes, we do our annual training up at Camp Grayling. It lasts for, we do multiple days of training, but up there it's an excellent environment for us to do scenario-based training, and You can't safely replicate these kind of scenarios in just Shelby Township. There's too many innocent bystanders around, but it's a secure facility where they have unique structures where we can have active shooter training. We can do hostage rescue, all kinds of force-on-force training, and it's a great team building. It definitely stresses our guys, but when we come out of it, it's always beneficial.
Okay, what I want our residents to know is we put the tactical unit in under my administration, and they've come a long way from day one. And the administrator in me wants them to go to Grayling for their training for the reasons Lieutenant Dowty just explained to you. But the leader in me wants them to go for a different reason, and I want them to go for bonding purposes and getting to know each other and spending a week together, living with each other and eating with each other. These guys, you guys, your team has a tremendous responsibility. You're also our biggest liability also, and that's why you train the way you do. And I know that we got pushback originally when I tried to send them to Grayling. These guys all have families, kids, little kids, and they don't want to be away for a week. It's stressful on anybody. You know, the wives are telling them, you're not going there and everything, and we got pushback, and however they went, and I think they understood the benefit of it, and now it's to the point where like half of me is glowing, the leader in me, and the other half, the administrator, is glowing. What is your comment on what I just said? Do you agree with that, or do you see a different way, or what are your thoughts?
I mean,
and let me interrupt you. You're a young man with 2 little kids, and I'm sure you're dealing with the same thing and the stress of 2 working parents and you having to get up and leave for a week. So what are your thoughts on that?
You're 100% right. It's a balancing act. You're always looking for the morale and trying to make decisions that are beneficial for the team building, while also keeping perspective of family life. And the first year that I went up to Camp Grayling, which was years ago, I saw the value in it. It really, you can have 15 guys that are very good shooters, very good, competent critical decision makers, but it's so critical that we are a team. And that trip up to Camp Grayling is where those 15 guys become one as one team and really start to understand how we operate and why the importance of teamwork makes it so much more beneficial and efficient when it comes to completing your mission.
Well said, and I'm glad you understand both sides of it. And you guys you yourself and your team is doing a tremendous job. Yeah. And you guys, you have a lot of challenges. Real quickly, I want to tell our audience a story. Our team was hitting a door, doing a raid in Detroit back about a month ago, 2 months ago, for the state police. They called us and said they had multiple doors to hit. Can you hit this door? Well, we're acting under the guise of the state police, and it was a upper and lower flat, and our entry team made a way into the lobby, and there the guy is at the top of the stairs with a gun, standing with his gun at our officers. Many officers would have shot. I'd probably tell you honestly, I probably would have shot him myself if I see him standing there with a gun going on a raid. Our team displayed tremendous discipline. They understand. The guy ended up running off back in the house, and 1,000%, this is on you and your leadership and the discipline that your team has to know not to fire at that guy in a situation like that. Now, if he would have pointed a gun and levered it at you, or obviously shot, it'd have been lights out for the guy. But when I heard that story, I was beyond proud, and I know this is because of the training that you guys put in, your assistant team leaders, and you picked the best of our team, and I want to compliment you and your team for that, the leadership and the officers that not even leaders, but understood the discipline aspect of that. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Audience, residents of Shelby Township, business owners, you've been watching Straight Talk. We will see you next month.